Temi has requested to follow you on Instagram.
Joe has requested to be your friend on Snapchat.
Temi has started following you on TikTok.
And Joe has requested to connect with you on LinkedIn.
These are notifications that many of us will see on our phones every day. But what are the two things that they have in common?
Well, firstly, they're symbolic of the digital age we live in, where it's possible to reach out to virtually anyone across countless online platforms with the tap of the finger.
Secondly, and arguably more significantly, they're opportunities to connect with someone new and to learn something about their lives, whether it's by keeping up with their Snapchat stories, seeing what they get up to via their Instagram feed, watching a 7-second clip of them dancing via TikTok, or hearing about their achievements and career ambitions via LinkedIn.
With all of that said, it's one thing to have an online presence in the world of social media, but it's another thing entirely to utilize these opportunities to connect with others effectively, in order to meet new people, make new friends, and build your personal or professional network.
As many of us know, the transition from school to higher education or the working world, whilst an exciting and formative time in our lives, is also fraught with tough decisions, external pressures, and a level of uncertainty that is quite difficult to manage.
And to be able to draw upon these insights, experiences, and wisdom of others throughout the process will provide you with the opportunity to learn about realizing your own ambition, and also offers a guiding compass through what's often unfamiliar and uncertain territory.
But unfortunately, it's not all about connecting with people online. How many LinkedIn connections you have and how big your network is simply isn't the most important thing in life. The value of actually meeting new people and building relationships in the real world is unparalleled for our skills development and for our long-term relationship building.
In case it hasn't revealed itself yet, which Angus did, I thought we were going to get the big reveal, but it's been done. The theme of today is connection. And I thought it valuable to tell you about a story of personal connection that's been highly formative for me. Back in the summer of 2022, during my internship, I was invited to attend a networking event hosted by a law firm that I had not previously come across. For full transparency, I was not particularly eager to attend. I was tired after a long day of work, and the idea of attending an event with the sole aim of networking felt somewhat forced. I was not entirely convinced that another evening of polite conversation and LinkedIn exchanges would make any real difference, but I couldn't have been more wrong. That evening, I found myself in a room full of aspiring lawyers and professionals at various stages of their career. Amongst them, I happened to sit down with a representative of the firm named Dawn. We spoke for a while about her career as a healthcare lawyer, something that I've always found fascinating, but didn't know it was possible to have a career in. At the end of our chat, we did the typical exchange of LinkedIn profiles because, let's face it, what else is there to do? But more importantly, we actually kept in touch. I'll admit, I have been guilty of the classic connect and forget phenomenon. You meet someone, you request to connect, and then silence. But this time was different. Dawn and I kept in regular contact, through which she encouraged me to apply to the firm's vacation scheme. When the dreaded application season came around, she not only offered me practical guidance, but also the kind of thoughtful encouragement that has stayed with me, reminding me to always trust myself and understand that I had earned a place on the to-be vacation scheme. She offered me guidance on how to make the most of it and attempt to convert it into a training contract. When I was subsequently offered a training contract, she was one of the first people that I contacted. It felt meaningful to be able to share that moment with someone who had quietly and consistently supported me along the way. Her first response was to encourage me to pay it forward, which I certainly intend to try and do. Looking back, I'm almost certain that if I hadn't taken the time to connect with others, found the confidence to put myself out there, and most importantly, followed up in the subsequent weeks, I wouldn't be where I am today, preparing to begin my career at a firm whose values and people I truly admire. This experience taught me that not only is connection important, it is powerful, and it must be nurtured. It's not enough to simply meet people. Follow up, stay in touch, ask questions, see how you can help in return. And I understand that doing so can feel daunting. However, people are often far more willing to help than we give them credit for. Since becoming an apprentice at the company, I've been lucky to meet some inspiring mentors and great friends. A lot of these relationships started with just a simple chat or a quick introduction, all opportunities that could very easily have passed us by.
Likewise, I wouldn't be standing here at the hall with you today if it wasn't for past master George Pullman, who I met at a deputation to Haberdashers Adams back in 2019 when I was a sixth former in the midst of my university applications. During the school tour, George, a renowned former barrister and judge, learned that I was applying to study law at his old college. I was promptly notified during the tour that the lunchtime seating plan had been amended so that I'd be sat next to George, and George only. For the next 2 hours over lunch, whilst the other haberdashers enjoyed a musical performance and visited the playing fields at Longford Hall, George and I duly quizzed, inquired, cross-examined, and canvassed all that I had done thus far to prepare for my interview and my written applications. This was interspersed with some insightful and rather hilarious anecdotes about George's career and his life in the law, all scribbled down hastily on a page he tore out for me from his pocket diary, and a napkin as well. The next time I heard from George was through a summons to the headmaster's office 2 weeks later, something which strikes fear in the heart of any sixth form student, to tell me that I had a handwritten letter personally addressed to me and signed by no other than George Pullman Esquire, and it had been sent to the school's office. What followed after that letter was almost 2 years of friendship, mentorship, pen pal exchanges, in which George took a genuine interest in my life, while sharing the stories and the profound learnings he had experienced during his, often scribbled on the back of a hymn sheet or an old invoice in order to save paper. George kindly invited me to the hall for a mock interview. He followed each and every development as I progressed through my UCAS application and began studying at his old college, and he continued his generous mentorship well into my university life, often advising me on study tips and which clubs and societies to get involved with, as well as which ones to avoid. And the rowing club was a particular one because, in George's words, who wants to get up at 4:30 a.m. most mornings, especially not students? When George invited me to join the Haberdashers Company as his apprentice, I realised that this was my opportunity to pay his generosity forward and to share all that I had learned throughout those experiences with those who continue to experience similar pressures during school and university life each year. It was only after George sadly passed away in 2021 that I learned the extent to which George had also been a mentor, a pen pal, and a friend to so many other students at Haberdashers schools, devoting his time and energy to support each and every one of us individually, whilst maintaining a keen interest in our collective development all the same. The message from this is that it's quite difficult to see how the connections we make are impacting our lives in real time. But one of George's many legacies is the lasting and tangible influence that just one person can positively have on so many people's development over time, even if their first encounter was by chance. To me, that's why it's so important not to shy away from the opportunity to connect with others. You never know who could be sat next to you at lunch.
And so, as the evening continues, our challenge to you is to speak to 3 new people you've never met before and learn one interesting fact about each of them. Even exchange contact details if it feels appropriate. But more importantly, make the effort to stay in touch with at least one. You never know where it may lead.
Whoever they may be, we encourage you to be open-minded, be interested, be confident, and above all, to listen. So much can be learned from conversations with new people. There is only one rule to our task. You can't directly ask the other person for an interesting fact. You need to find this out for yourself.
So thank you all for listening, and we hope you have an enjoyable evening and that we get the chance to connect with many of you.